Cat's Cradle here. I have something I really want to show to you. I just feel sort of an urgency to share this with you. Some close friends and relatives of mine are going to feel like they've won the lottery today because this is a recipe that I have closely guarded. I had aspirations of starting a business of making and packaging this granola because everyone who has ever tasted has raved about it. It's a recipe I worked a long time to develop and get just right, and I hope you'll be glad at some point that I shared it with you. I have my recipe here in a plastic sleeve. Any recipes I use a lot, I keep in a notebook and I keep them in a sleeve because if I drop anything on it, I can wipe it off. You can see I'm covering up my first name here because that's not just something I want to share with you, but it's my granola, and I will put the recipe right under on top of the comment section here so that you can have it. I have a lot here because I'm making a double batch, so just ignore how much there is of everything, and I will put the single batch recipe on the website. Trust me, you don't want to make a single recipe of it. You want to make a double or triple recipe of it. The recipe I'm making today, doubled, will take 4 cookie sheets. I'll do it in 2 batches, 2 actually jelly roll pans that I'll put in the oven at one time, and when that batch is done, then I'll put another batch in. So here we go. I'm going to give you the single batch ingredients. 6 cups of old-fashioned oats. Don't use minute oats. Don't use instant oats. 6 cups of old-fashioned oats. To that, I add sesame seeds. I love them. I keep them in my food storage. I order mine from Honeyville Grain. You know that I'm a real fan of that company because if you order, no matter whether you order $2,000 worth of their product or $5 worth of their product, shipping is $4.95. It is a flat rate, so I love that. Okay, so we've got our oatmeal and our sesame seeds in. That was a half a cup of sesame seeds for a single batch. Then in goes a cup of wheat germ. You'll appreciate that I've dirtied every dish in the house for you here. Then goes in 1/2 cup of brown sugar. That was a whole cup because I'm doing a double batch, of course. Then 1½ cups of coconut. A 1/2 cup of powdered milk. Be careful with this powdered milk. It kind of flies away. It's very powdery, so I carefully lay it down there, and when I stir, I'm very careful initially because I don't want that powdered milk to fly away. Those are the main dry ingredients. This recipe is very forgiving. As long as you keep the ratio of wet to dry the same, you can put in anything you want. You can take out a little something and put a little something in. Today I'm putting in a little something. I'm putting in 3 tablespoons of ground flax meal. So in that goes. It's not in the original recipe that I made, but I like to add it. Also here, I forgot, is a teaspoon of salt. Okay? That goes in. I'm stacking up on the dry dishes for you here. Those are the dry ingredients. You just stir those together. Careful with that powdered milk at first so it doesn't fly everywhere. I use powdered milk from the LDS cannery. I'll also use oatmeal from the LDS cannery, and I will tell you, I store all of this in my food storage. There is not a single ingredient in this granola that is not in my food storage. Okay, I'll continue to stir that off camera until I get it all mixed up, but I'll go ahead and tell you now what are in the dry ingredients. If you have a big old clump of brown sugar like that, I just mash that up with my fingers like that. Here are the wet ingredients, and I just put them in a measuring cup. It looks like a lot here, but remember I'm doing a double batch. So the single batch amount is 1 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, there you go. I buy my vanilla at Aldi's or make my own. If you want to know how to make homemade vanilla, go visit my friend Atticus 9799, and she'll show you how to make your homemade vanilla. Okay, so the only thing I do with the honey and the oil is I put mine in the microwave for just a few seconds, maybe like 30 seconds, just to liquefy the honey just a little bit and get it easier to blend in with the dry ingredients. I didn't have quite enough coconut in my bowl, so I'm going to come over here to the coconut I pulled out of my food storage and add a little bit. I'm going to do that off camera for you because I didn't have quite enough. You can see I package it. If you want to know how I package coconut, I package it just like I package my brown sugar. So you can go to my brown sugar video and see what I do. I cut a little slit in the original coconut package, slip it in my food saver bag, and then I seal it up. The little slit in the coconut bag allows the food saver to suck all of the oxygen out, and I store lots of coconut. I store lots of things that I can't grow on my own. I don't have an almond tree, so I store lots of almonds. In fact, I have a 6-gallon bucket that is nothing but nuts and seeds. I'm talking about edible seeds like sunflower seeds. I just vacuum seal them and throw them in there because I don't have an almond tree, and so I want to store lots of almonds. I don't have a walnut or pecan tree, so I store lots of those. I store lots of tropical things that I can't grow here, like coconut. I dehydrate bananas. I dehydrate pineapple. I store lots of cocoa powder. You need to think about those things. Those things that you cannot produce yourself, you should really stock up on and store. So we're going to stop for now. I'm going to add a little more coconut to this. Then I'm going to pour the honey and vanilla and oil in and mix it up. I will tell you, I always start like a lady and use a spoon, but I've got to admit, I always get my hands in it because it blends it up just so much better. I'll come back when I'm ready to put it on the baking sheets. Cat's Cradle here, I'm back. I have my granola completely mixed up. The only thing you did not see me do is I decided also to add a little bit of almond flavoring. You know, it's whatever strikes my fancy at the time. So I put about a teaspoon, I added about a teaspoon of almond extract as well, so it's got vanilla and almond extract in it. And I added 1 cup of pecans to this. I do hold off putting my almonds in this because this has to bake for about 35 or 40 minutes at 250 degrees, and it's just a bit much for the almonds, and sometimes they get a little bit too brown. So I hold off about 15 minutes before sprinkling those on the granola and letting them just bake for about 15 or 20 minutes. The other thing is 2 cups of nuts or seeds go into this, and you can do it any variety you want. I like all three, so I put pecans and almonds and sunflower seeds. The sunflower seeds are already roasted and salted, so I just mix them in after I take my granola out of the oven. I'll probably put it back in this big container and then just mix these in. The other thing I add at the end, when it never goes in the oven, is I like to add raisins. I like these golden raisins that I buy from Aldi's. I think they're delicious. Sometimes I add my own raisins, grapes that I've dried myself. It's whatever you like. If you don't like ground flax meal, please don't email me or PM me or comment that you don't like ground flax meal. Just don't put it in. If you have an aversion to coconut, leave it out. If you don't like nuts, leave it out. The only thing you can't leave out is the oatmeal and something to bind it with, which is generally the oil and the honey. But put anything in you want. Just try to keep the ratio of dry to wet like I have it, and you'll be very, very happy. I will tell you, as I have showed you how it's made today, it is absolutely awesome. Prepper A, my daughter, came in and she saw what I was making and she squealed and she said, "Oh, Mom, tell me you're not going to vacuum seal all that you're going to leave some out for us to eat." That's how good it is. I have relatives who, when I say, "What do you want for Christmas?" outright, flatly, they'll say, "Your granola. Send your granola. It is really, really good." One other tip I'll share with you. I love, pardon me, I love using these tops to my cake saver. These are just cheap cake savers that I bought at a big box store. I like to invert them, and they're great big bowls. I use this one, which actually came off the pie saver. I let my bread rise in this. I put olive oil in here. You'll see it. I'll probably do it later today. Just put my bread in here, cover it with a towel, and let it rise. But these are awesome containers for very, very cheap. You don't have to go out and buy expensive plasticwares, and lots of times you can pick them up at garage sales. But I love this container for mixing. I love taking it out to the garden to gather vegetables in. It's just a great big container that doesn't cost hardly anything to buy. Okay, here's what I'm going to do now. I have 2 jelly roll pans that are covered with heavy-duty aluminum foil. I've got to tell you, I'm trying to eliminate aluminum from my life, but there are a couple of places where it's just invaluable. Today is one of them, to line this pan. I try not to use it when I'm cooking something wet because I don't like my food to be sitting on it for very long. I also am trying, not to drink out of aluminum cans or cook out of aluminum cookware just because that aluminum is so suspect and may be indicated in dementia and Alzheimer's and autism, and you can disagree with that, and that's just fine. I'm just telling you I'm trying to eliminate it from our life. This is one of the cases where I use it. My friend Noreen, Atticus9799, and I disagree whether shiny side or dark side up when you're cooking. I'm a dark side up person because I know that the shiny side of the foil reflects heat, and so I use the dull side up. So here I'm going to just kind of gauge and look. You don't want this piled up really thickly on your cookie sheet because you want it to kind of toast and bake. So that's about the right amount. Just kind of spread it out. I'll probably have to do this in 2 batches, doing 2 cookie sheets at one time and 2 on the other. That's about as thick as I want it. I want to occasionally be able to see foil pinking from under there. I'm going to stir this. I'm going to let it bake the first 15 minutes. I'm going to stir it every 10 minutes until it's done. You know when it's done because it'll get just little brown spots on it, which is exactly what you want. So here's my other jelly roll pan. I'm going to put about as much on there as well. I don't guess you need to see me do this twice. I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'll get back to you when it's done. Welcome back. The first tray of granola has come out of the oven, and it is ready. You can see that this is how it almost slid out of the bowl. This is how it looks when it's done. This is how it originally looked before I put it in. It's just very raw and very pale. Once it cooks, and it will take a little while in the oven, and I probably cooked this one almost a full 60 minutes. It's very humid here, and I think it just took longer today. And I did stir it every 15 minutes. Now, if you stir it very carefully, you can still use the same aluminum lined foil sheets to finish your second batch. Just be careful not to rip your aluminum foil. So this is how it looks, and you can hear it's dry sounding, and it's taken on this golden brown color. That's what you want. You want to evaporate enough of the moisture out of here to where it stores very well. Now, what I do at this point is I'm going to put some raisins in here. Oh, that may be a little too many. And I'm going to sprinkle my already toasted and salted sesame seeds in there. Those go in at the very last minute. You'll remember the pecans went in at the beginning when I started cooking. The almonds went in halfway through, and you can see the almonds are nice. They're toasted, but they're not burned at all. Almonds burn very easily, so you don't want to put them in at the beginning because they can't take a full 60 minutes without getting charred on the edges. So that's all mixed up. If you don't like raisins, you can put in dried cranberries. You can put in chopped up dried apricot. You can put in dried dates. They also sell a delicious mixed dried berry blend at Aldi's that's wonderful. I've used it here before. Or you can leave the dried fruit out altogether. If you'll remember, I told you this recipe is very accommodating to your likes. So here's what I do. I just dish it up using my funnel into my jars. This doesn't seal particularly well in vacuum sealed bags because there's so many little sharp edges on the coconut and on the nuts and on even the oatmeal once it's toasted. So here you go. I dish it up in a jar like this, put the lid on, label it granola, and this afternoon when I go back to my vacuum sealer, I'll just take the ring off, I'll slip my my sealer, my little attachment for my vacuum sealer right on the lid here. Suck all the air out. Put the ring back on and put it on my shelf. There is an easy, delicious breakfast anytime you need something quick and delicious. I will tell you, occasionally I have substituted a little bit of my whole wheat flour for the oatmeal. That's perfectly fine because that whole wheat is going to be toasted in the oven. Makes it perfectly digestible, and it's delicious. I will do that sometimes, putting in a cup of oatmeal for a cup of whole wheat for a cup of the oatmeal. It's really good. You can try that. This is not low calorie, but all calories are not created equal. Some things you can eat that are high calorie have no nutrients. They're not nutrient dense, and they're just a waste of calories. This is something different. It is a little bit high in calories, but it's loaded with nutrients, vitamins, and fiber, especially. It has nuts in it. It has dried fruit in it. It has whole grain in it. When you eat this in the morning for breakfast, if you're like me, I'm eating about 6:30 in the morning. By 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I am not feeling hungry. It really stays with you. It's a wonderful food. I hope you try it. I hope you like it. I hope it's a recipe you'll use in your family for many years. It's wonderful. I will tell you, I've never tasted any other granola better. I hope you enjoy it. Now, little Prepper A came in from working in the yard with her dad. She smelled the granola. She said, I've just got to have some. I'm starving. So I set her a little plate, and she's going to give it a try and tell you, well, we already know she loves it, but she's going to tell you how she likes it. Pour your milk on it and let us see what you think. I'm pretty agreeable to doing just about anything she wants today. She finished her elementary school career yesterday, never having made any grade lower than an A. She didn't miss a single day of school this year, so I think she's deserving of a bowl of homemade granola.
Oh man, I walked in and this smells so good. I can't wait to have some.
Good. I know you love it.
Mmm.
How's it taste?
That's awesome.
Oh, good. Well, good. Do you think the folks watching should try it?
Most definitely.
All right. Okay, Cat's Cradle here saying, hope you enjoy making homemade granola for your family.